It is Friday, August 15th. You are at the Center for Talking Arts at Right On Right Now. Please give a warm round of applause to your host, Jen Frankel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and braving the heat on this beautiful Friday evening in Hamilton. I'm Jen Frankel. I'm a writer and an artist with all of the vagaries that label entails. I think it mostly means that I don't make a lot of money. But I'm planning on changing that this year, actually. I know that everybody kind of idolizes the concept of being famous as an author, as an artist. You know, it's not really about making a living as an artist. It's about being famous. But I kind of think that we're missing something, because in order to actually become rich and famous, you have to pass through a lot of different levels of that. So at this point, I am quite poor and quite unknown. And it seems to me that there's a lot of steps, like incremental ways of moving from poor and unknown to rich and famous. So at some point, I'm going to have to be just moderately well-known and potentially make a living. So I love the idea of making a living as an artist. I think that's about the highest compliment that you can give a person who's an artist, is to say, oh my God, it's great that you make a living doing what you love. That's really the dream. I'm so glad that you all came out tonight. If anybody hasn't signed up to read tonight and would like to, there's a book just behind that monitor over there, and you can put your name down. We've got a nice roster, really wonderful roster of writers tonight. I'm so excited. I'm not sure if anybody's doing music. Sometimes we have singer-songwriters as well. So just a few little announcements before we start. Welcome to the Center for Talking Arts. This is an incredible place. It's full of all sorts of different events, everything from storytelling to stand-up comedy to something like this. If you keep an eye on their Instagram and their YouTube, you'll be able to catch what's coming up. There's always an open mic on, like a comedy open mic on Thursdays, so you can always come and hear comedy on Thursday nights. Food and drink are available at the bar, including an incredibly delicious Jamaican patty, highly recommended. There's also t-shirts for sale. You can get those at the bar as well. And the show is being streamed. If you decide you're going to come up and you don't want to be streamed, just put opt out by your name on the book, and we'll make sure that it doesn't get into the airwaves. If you are absolutely eager to be streamed, and not only that, but you love the fact that we've got this incredible 5-camera setup here, and you would actually like to take a copy of your performance home with you, you can do that for $10, a mere $10. Also, you can find out about that at the bar as well. Definitely check the website CFTA.live if you want to check out what's coming up on the actual website for CFTA. We have a very non-strict 5-minute time limit. I say non-strict because I really don't mind if you go over 5 minutes. If you're going to go like 10 minutes, just let me know when you come up, and I can tell you to go take a flying leap off the stage, or that's very fine. We don't usually have, I think tonight we've got enough people that if you want to go beyond the 5-minute limit, that's fine. I am going to show you, though, we have a yellow light at the back of the auditorium that will tell you when you're getting to the point where I'm wondering if you're going to get off the stage soon. And a red light that tells you, okay, yeah, I think that's enough. And if it starts flashing, I will probably be making little grr noises at the same time and may throw something at you. So that's the warning that you have stayed to the absolute fullness of your welcome time on the stage, if that's a good way to put it. And that's about everything, except that Does anybody remember Speaker's Corner back in Toronto, City TV? So CFTA has actually revived the idea. Just behind the door, the front door, you'll find a camera, and anytime you want to, please on the way out if you feel like it, just give a message, give a rant, tell us what you had for breakfast. I mean, anything goes. But just behind the door, you can leave your thoughts and your and your whatevers with us. So yeah, my name's Jen Frankel, as I said. My latest book of poetry is called Mayhaps. It's poetry of love, longing, and loss, because that usually happens in that order. And the secret of life is to get to the longing, the love, and then to just stay ahead of the loss until you die. It's to get into that sweet spot of love. I have copies of the book over there for $10 if anybody's interested. But this is a poem from the book. It's called Really, I Come Here Just to Watch Him. Really, I come here just to watch him, though the atmosphere is tolerable, I suppose. Just the right mix of smoked wood and neon, with the jostling music of nighttime fiasco weighing so lightly on a mind clouded by no more than caffeine and fatigue. I can sit in solitary bliss, my intrusion slight, as his fair head flickers in and out of view, while the coffee in the cup before me is drained into some place in my spleen that aches for some kinder use. And though I'm busy composing thoughts for the day ahead, scratching a monologue of trivial complaint, and though I keep up the pretense of traditional soirees on the traditional night in the traditional solitude, really, I come here just to watch him. This is called You Make Me Make You. You want me as part of your disease, when I could be part of the cure. You shall not change your mind, although I am certainly new information, a fresh approach, one who loves you, different from your past. But you are set in your ways, and part of that way is to see only the loneliness of the road, the vanity of its travelers, the way your childhood sensitivity could be used against you, to draw you under sharp-filled waters, to draw your blood from 1,000 cuts, to bleed you white, and then leave you floating in a pool of your own gore. You do not wish to change your mind about me or about anything. That stubborn will has made you safe and calcified, like the semblance of trees in a petrified wood. It is not weak to change your opinion. It is the sign of someone that lives, instead of someone that feels the past is the only safe place. A haven from the turn of the massive wheel that spins the world from age to age, from year to year. Once, I too lived in the past, in the anxious terror of my own staid thoughts. So, I do not criticize. I merely hope you could someday throw away your certainty that the world will eat you up and see it instead through my gentler eyes. And this is called Not My Bed. And I roll over in my bed, only it's not my bed, and I don't know this grinning creature beside me that licks its lips in sleep. And wasn't there a promise I only half remember for no violence, no blood, no knives? And these things that you've said, what did you think that I mean when I said no violence, no blood, no knives? And I roll over in bed, not my bed, that's established. And who's this grinning creature beside me? I roll over, forgetting how to stand, how to walk, and I have no voice, only a thin shower of glitter falling from my fingertips. All that's left, of no violence, no blood, no knives. Thank you. So that's how it's done. You just come up to the microphone and you tell us what you're thinking. This evening is dedicated to the idea that we're all creatives, that we all have something to share. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys share with me tonight. So please join me in welcoming our first reader for the evening, Adnan. I just realized I read that whole thing with the red light on, so technically I should have been kicked off my own stage. Come on up. Would you like to hold the mic or use the stand? Second?
Yeah.
Great. Adnan, please. Give it a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. It's my first time here. Super excited to be here and super excited to see what everyone has in store for this evening. This is a short piece that's still a work in progress. I started writing it a few months ago. It's about a very important occasion in my family's life that took place about a year ago, and I think I needed about a year to process the whole thing. I think I wrote it at exactly the right time. So my family lives on the other side of the world. They're about 10,000 miles away, and for various reasons I couldn't make it. Work-related stuff, financial stuff. Biggest reason being I was at the time, not anymore, but on the receiving end of a rather toxic and abusive relationship as well. So you know the type, they kind of. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this piece. And I'll be well under 5 minutes for sure. If only I had asked for that holiday, pushed that deadline, canceled that meeting, just said no. Saved up more, gone out less, with nothing to show for it except a scrambled head and a hazy morning. If only I said no to Mexico, skipped Italy, turned down the Four Seasons. If only I'd torn off these shackles of misery. If only I'd bought that airplane ticket. If only I'd remembered how you always reached out for me before I started to pull back, to let go. If only I'd fought as hard, the way you and Dad always did. When you needed me to be a dragon slayer, I recoiled and cowered under someone else's flame. I wish I'd remembered the 6-string guitar you bought me, instead of being strung.
I think I'd like to just have a list of all of those things on my own wall. And remember, those toxic relationships are really hard to get out of. Congratulations if you've managed to escape. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing that tonight. Our next reader comes from Kitchener, Waterloo tonight. Yeah. He was formerly a psychologist, and I'll let him introduce himself, but please join me in welcoming David Alex Jones. I think I'll just leave this in there next time.
Can people hear me? Okay. Yes, I'm a retired psychologist from Waterloo, David Alex Jones. I started writing novels back in 2011, and at this point I have 6 novels to my name. The first was a trilogy that I called the Survivor Trilogy, and the book that I'm going to read from tonight is a sort of a prequel to that trilogy called Angela's Eyes. It's an idea that sort of surfaced while I was writing the first novel in the trilogy. And this is her backstory. this character, and it was my first foray into writing in the first person. So it's a little bit dated, but I hope you enjoy it. This is from the prologue of a book called Angela's Eyes. I remember that day, almost 1 year ago, like it was yesterday. My eyes were open and alert to my surroundings, as they had been every day since I stole $4.7 million from Soren Christensen and went on the run, vanishing from the lives of everybody I knew and loved. From that day on, my eyes have kept a constant vigil. I've been paranoid about every person I see, unable to trust a soul, and waiting for the day when Soren eventually finds me. The setting sun was disappearing behind the towering landscape of downtown Los Angeles, the daytime heat giving way to long, late afternoon shadows. I sat on the grass in San Julian Park, leaning up against a cinder block wall, trying to blend into the shadows. This had become my usual afternoon and evening routine, hiding in plain sight in this small green oasis amidst the most unfortunate of humanity. As usual, the park was crowded with people, leaning up against trees, lying on the grass, or sitting cross-legged on the ground. In the park and out on the street, throngs of other street people staked their claim to a small square of sidewalk or grass to set up temporary sleeping quarters for the coming night. They unpacked portable tents or cardboard boxes from their shopping carts that contained the sum total of their possessions. The small mass of humanity in East Los Angeles was winding down another day of subsistence survival in the unseen underbelly of America. Many of the park's residents knew each other well, jabbering casually with each other. I knew many of them by sight as they knew me, but I rarely allowed myself anything more than raising my eyebrows in acknowledgement or a curt greeting to any of them. I wasn't willing to risk conversation or the possibility of revealing anything about myself to anybody. I liked San Julian Park. It was a place where I could sit in the shade when it was warm or find some sunshine when it was cool. I could keep my back to the cindercrete wall or the trunk of the tree where I could keep a wary eye on every person who passed or entered the park. I blended in well, wearing the same pair of torn jeans, threadbare t-shirt, hoodie, and well-worn boots that I wore each time I visited the park. My shoulder-length blonde hair was purposely tousled and unkempt, and there wasn't a trace of makeup on my face. On that spring day, I wasn't wearing the gray hoodie I'd been wearing through the cooler winter months, but I was glad I still had it with me, using it to cushion my behind from the hard ground. I first noticed the woman with the camera while she worked her way down the opposite side of the street. I'd never seen her in the area before, so she aroused my attention immediately. She had an old-school SLR with a large telephoto lens attached, and she appeared to be taking candid photographs of people from a distance. The hairs on the back of my neck tingled. I riveted my eyes on her as she moved slowly towards the park. The residents of Skid Row were used to seeing photojournalists who sometimes ventured here to document their existence. But this woman was different. She spent more time composing and taking each shot, manually focusing and setting the shutter speed and aperture for each exposure. She was completely engrossed, but relaxed at the same time. She was doing this for art and her own relaxation. She was tall and thin, with an olive complexion and short dark hair. As I studied her carefully, she looked down at the SLR and checked its settings. Apparently satisfied, she raised her head and started surveying the area for potential targets. She noticed San Julian Park and started moving in my direction. I reached beneath me for my hoodie, wondering if I would be less noticeable if I pulled the hood over my head. I decided against doing anything to attract attention, averting my eyes and hoping she wouldn't see me. It was time to leave the park. I stole a quick glance in my peripheral vision, hoping to see that her camera was focused on other residents of the park, but it was too late. I felt fear take control over my body. Instead of getting up and running, I froze. She had already spotted me, and our eyes met. Automatically, she raised the camera and focused the lens on me. Before I could look away, I saw the camera's shutter opening and closing, capturing on film the fear and distrust on my face and in my eyes. It was all over in a couple of seconds. She lowered the camera away from her face and our eyes met. She could tell that I was different from the other residents of the park. She knew I didn't belong there. If I stayed where I was any longer, I knew she was going to come closer to start asking questions. It was time to go. I reached for the used plastic grocery bag full of personal belongings beside me and rose quickly to my feet. I pulled the hoodie over my head and lowered my eyes, walking briskly past the mystery woman and onto the asphalt pathway that led to the park's only exit at the corner of the green space. I turned right and quickly crossed St. Julian Street. Once across the street, I hunched down and slid behind a large blue dome tent, somebody's lodging for the night. Shielding myself from the woman's view, I moved quickly along East 5th Street, leaving the park and the woman behind. Now, hiding from the world in my makeshift bed in the darkness of a Las Vegas floodway, I recall the ominous feeling I had about those photos. Somehow, I knew they were going to come back to haunt me. I didn't know when or how, but I knew the day would come. I couldn't risk having anybody see them. As far as the rest of the world was concerned, I was dead. I walked away from everything, my 2 kids and my parents, and I ran away from my job. As far as anybody was concerned, I had simply vanished from the face of the earth. Thanks.
Have another round of applause for David. So he actually has a number of books, and they're over here on this table here if you wanted to take a look afterwards. I think he has copies for sale of most of them, or?
Yeah, I have some copies of all of them. They're in the car, so if I take orders or something, I'll have to walk a couple blocks.
So basically, he carried one of each because it's enough to carry in one setting. Could we have another round of applause for David? Thank you so much for coming in all the way. We have a lot of people who came in from out of town tonight. I'm really excited. We've also had some people come in more recently than the start of the show. So if there's anybody who would still like to sign up, you can sign up on the book just behind the monitor over there. If not, welcome. I hope you're going to enjoy yourselves. It's already been a very varied night, and I'm really delighted to be bringing up our next reader, who's probably going to. Are you actually performing your pieces without? I love the way he performs his poetry, so I hope you enjoy him as much as I do. This is Paul Edward Costa. Please join me in welcoming him.
I'll take it off. I'll put it back on. All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I might go a little bit past 5, but I'm doing 3 poems. Won't be too long past that. But yeah, no, I used to go to Right On Right Now when Jen ran it in Toronto, and it's wonderful to see it carrying on here. Also lovely seeing her run it in a place that has a stage and a door that doesn't sound like a screaming cat every time somebody comes in or out, which was the problem we dealt with in the land of Toronto, but we don't deal with here. So awesome. The first poem is from my book, Vigils of the Night Office, which is one of the poetry collections there, the one with the mask. And this one came from a prompt that was given in a writer's workshop. They told us to turn a rose into an ocean. And I didn't go romantic with it. I went scientific disaster gone wrong. Only recently did my imagination again take the shape of formations, revealing the rose at the center of our radioactive research emporium's end. Its malfunctioning microwaves, its cracked radium watches, and dentist X-ray arms gone rogue, until every technician melted, and the rose at the center of one last study blossomed abnormally. Its stems aggressive green thorns, unable to shred excess petals, multiplying repeatedly. Tunnels and halls in the valley complex flooded with blooming rose heads, small enough to fill your lungs or large enough to smother a life. At last, The mutating flower broke off into subsections going on to form the vast rose ocean our valley became, over which helicopters now take tourists on guided flights, playing Kiss from a Rose through their headsets, while never mentioning the origins of the phenomenon below, preserving an economy based only on that, and charging foreign countries to dump what they don't want in razor-sharp rose petal waves, camouflaging any appearance of blood. Thank you. The song in the headsets is inspired by my parents who are retired and do a lot of traveling, but they went to Hawaii. They took the helicopter trip over the place they shot Jurassic Park, and apparently when you do that, in the headsets in the helicopter, they play like the theme song for Jurassic Park. So you go over it and you hear like dun 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 dun. This next one refers to a brick wall, and there's a brick wall behind me, so that makes sense. So, here I am, wondering if it was worth it, after all, to turn from a house's door on which I knocked, rang the bell, and patiently waited for an answer before climbing calloused fingers up a brick wall, above hellhound guardians nipping at my heels, to punch through a window and crawl down a hall, across shattered glass paid for in blood, whose cost is so marked up, price-fixing fraudsters blush, only to finally hear long-term occupants and every invitee say, "It's so good to see you. We admire your mindset, determination, and glorious grit in getting through," when I'd really prefer hearing voices simply and supportively say how we all have our own roads. So respect to you for braving yours, before going off to secure gauze and silk stitches for sutures. Thanks so much. And the last one is a newer one I wrote, so I know Jen hasn't heard this one yet. And you mentioned Speaker's Corner, so I'm also going to refer to several old television programs and some Canadian ones. Some of you will remember them. Some of you may have to Google it after. We'll see how this goes. It started when some dumb bastard threw a television into Tartarus, giving devils and the rest of hell an introductory crash course in media literacy. It dawned on them like an epiphany. One archetypal snake only slid under Adam and Eve's skin. A subtle, Billy Rubin-colored bunny corrupts multiple angels across successive circles. And while St. Michael was easily able to exile serpents and Satan, it's a harder sell getting approval for battle plans involving stabbing monsters who have taped on Care Bear avatars using flaming swords before kicking them over. The optics of wiping cartoon blood off hot blades are just too much for viewers at home to take, particularly those hiding fursuits exclusively used for sympathy during legal proceedings ruling on wrongdoings. Now, looking back, I value Lamb Chop's sock puppet show because of how it prepared us for this present. Put on positive intent and wholesome content, still useful in general, broken up by capitalism's inevitable interjections, commercialism's shameless posturing, all concluding with a catchy melody over credits rolling too fast to cherish. The song that doesn't end, self-aware while eating its tail. Baby's first infinity-based existential impasse, demonstrating how irresistibly easy getting trapped in looped hell cycles can be. In the song that doesn't end, self-aware while eating its tail. Baby's first infinity-based existential impasse, demonstrating how irresistibly easy getting trapped in looped hell cycles can be. In the song that doesn't end, self-aware while eating its tail. Baby's first infinity-based existential impasse. Just lastly, Thank you so much. I live in Mississauga. I came out here for this. I often go to Toronto for events. But yeah, it's lovely coming out here for this one. If you want to find out more about anything I'm doing, you can look up Paul Edward Costa on any social media platform. I do run a monthly series in Toronto that happens on the last Thursday of every month, except December. And that's called Outer Haven Poetry, and it's right in the middle of downtown Toronto. So if anybody is around for that, you can look up Outer Haven Poetry on Eventbrite, Facebook, or Instagram. So yeah, look up Paul Edward Costa or Outer Haven Poetry. I have some books available for there as well. And yeah, thank you so much and have a great evening.
Okay, two things. I really enjoyed the idea of throwing a television down to hell and having it infect the devils and make them somehow even worse. Just, yeah, kind of wonderful. But I've also never seen a poem that had a fade out at the ending. So it's pretty good too. Repeat and fade at the end of the poem. Just another round of applause for Paul. Why not? Everybody should get clapped for as much as possible. Next, I'm going to introduce the owner, our wonderful host for the evening, who started a fake cult during Fringe, which I am absolutely obsessed with. He will tell you maybe something about that, or maybe something else entirely tonight. Please join me in welcoming Jake.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank you for coming. This has been a great night so far already. I was about 9 years old when we moved from the center apartments to our own house on the East Mountain. And this was at a time in my life when I didn't quite understand what sexuality was, but I happened to be moving into a house that had across from them another house of 8 girls from the age of 8 to 18. And, we didn't get to talk to them very much, but on one occasion, when we first moved there, our family went into their house. The kids would play with each other, and the parents could talk. This was a time when, as I said, sexuality hadn't quite become something that I understood. It was confusing. It still remains a confusing thing, but confusing in different ways. And, at that point, it's like, but that's the parts that we pee from, Why would you want to touch the parts that we pee from? What are you talking about? It seemed important to a lot of people, but what, it is what it is, but what is it, Something happens, when puberty hits, obviously, and it changes a person. And I can almost narrowly focus it on one single day. I think it was between grade 5 and 6. And we were playing hide and seek, with the kids in the neighborhood. And I just happened to be hiding under a bush or somewhere, tight and cocoon-like, with one of the girls across the street. It was maybe a couple of years older than me, and we just were tightly packed in there. And her hair was in my face, and there was a smell of shampoo, and her sweater looked really vibrant and beautiful, and everything was alive. It was weird. It was like I was calm but excited at the same time, which seemed odd. So on this particular occasion, we're visiting this family across the street. And, the kids are downstairs and they're playing, and I'm there with a couple of girls. And, we're kind of nerdy. We're looking up words. They had this thing from a hotel that said, that you put on the door when you don't want to be disturbed. It says do not disturb, but if you get it, certain places it'll have a Spanish version of it. It would say something like no molestar, I think. And this kid had one, and, just laughing, haha, molest. And we, we looked it up in the dictionary, as nerdy kids would do. And we looked it up in the dictionary, and lo and behold, it was something like, it means to, to bother someone, to pester someone. That was odd, you know. But it was also a time when, you know, I was a kid who just wanted to be a goof, you know, just goof off. But something was happening. It's like sexuality is kind of like a song that is playing really far away at this point. You're kind of, I guess it comes in a progression. You first maybe hear the kick drum, you know. Something's happening. I don't know what's going on. And then maybe you start to hear the bass guitar. And then maybe you hear like all three guitars and cymbals start crashing in all at once all of a sudden. And that happened to me on this particular day, playing hide and seek. And then after, you know, we were called out, it was very disappointing. And then I remember following her on the next chances to, you know, maybe we could hide in the same spot again. It's like, what are you doing? You know, I don't know what I was doing. It just, I wanted to be near her. It was weird. So, you know, just kind of a goofy kid, but with the sense that something is happening. And you know, at that age, when you are attracted to someone, sometimes you're just a jerk to them. You don't know why. It's weird. And that's what I was doing. I was just doing everything wrong, just being a jerk to these girls, and it didn't make any sense, and I knew I was being a jerk. Just, you know, I just wanted to be a goofy kid. I just wanted to goof off. So at one point, Jennifer yells upstairs, she just had enough of me. And she yells, "Mom, Dad, Jake is molesting me," you know, with her newfound vocabulary. And I could just hear silence for a long time. And then I know, to defend myself, I yell up, "No, I'm not, I'm just jerking off." You know, so we were never invited back to that house. And I'm still confused.
So I used to be part of a band. We were a Spice Girls parody band, called ourselves the Herb Girls. I was Catnip. We all had our own songs, and mine was "Pussycat, Pussycat, you love me, I'll put you out of your tree." But we went to an Ontario Vintners party once, and we were the entertainment, and all of these Ontario Vintners had these tables, and they were just like covered in bottles of wine. I mean, it was just the most amazing. If you like wine, it was amazing. So we found this one bottle that we really, really loved. It was from a vintner that was making these ice wine, fruit wine combos. So they were things like ice wine with crabapple wine and ice wine with cherry wine, and it was like they were just amazing. But we had this one that we really, really loved that was called. They're called like crazy things like antifreeze or bug spray. So the one that was called bug repellent was the one that we really, really loved, and we took the bottle back to our table. And we were sitting there drinking it, and somebody comes over to us and asks us what we're drinking. And I say, "Bug repellent." And my friend, who's chamomile, who just was like the most innocent thing you can imagine, says, "Yeah, it sure beats off." And we all just stared at her. And eventually someone had to explain to her why we were laughing. But that's exactly what Jake's story made me think of. Anyhow, so if you ever have a chance to drink bug repellent, you've got a joke all saved up. Please join me in welcoming our next reader, who also comes from out of town. I'm just like loving all this. This is so wonderful. She's becoming a very dear friend and a very lovely poet. Please join me in welcoming Yashika, who is taller than me.
So I'm just going to read from something that I wrote as a birthday gift for my mom. I dedicated like a book to her, and like it just talks about the really complex, terrifying, hurtful, and yet loyal and lovely and beautiful relationship between a mother and a daughter. So yeah, I just have two poems. You breathe into me, a madness I uncover as I grow. Mother, you fear for me. What is it you fear? Shall repeat. You are haunted by the thoughts. You take the wrong road, and it leads you down the memory you can't escape. You breathe into me, a madness that begins with rage. I always wondered where the feeling came from. Now I see in you the foundation of my ways. Oh, Mama, your silent rage and the reminders that crawl over your face. Your rage was buried, but the revenge eventually came. No words were portrayed. You breathe into me, a madness bound by its hate. You listen to the words, and the words plant themselves into your brain. Always desperate, yet patient through the wait. You were silent in your rage. The revenge eventually came. It's eager in you, but it has no effect on your state. The revenge was in the success you eventually gained. So silent in your rage, yet always patient through the wait. I know you in little ways. The way you put some extra sweetness into your coffees. The way you subtly manipulate me to get your ways. The way you laugh so wholeheartedly when I crack a joke. The way you get so angry at Dad when you're really just tired and wish to let go. I know you in little ways. The way you get cranky when you really just want someone to understand. The way you become cold when you feel as though everyone's against you. I know you in little ways. Your numbness is all you can show in the face of the chaos in your head. I know you in little ways. You want to know those you love, but you can't afford them getting close. I know you in little ways. All you ever seek to be is brave. I know you in little ways, and often you try to hide them away. So I do have some extra copies for $8 if you guys want them. And also, I'm also hosting a showcase in Kitchener, so if you guys want to know more about that, you can talk to me. Borderline Place Fairy Tales. It's called Borderline Place Fairy Tales.
I'm going to make it shorter again, just to make it taller again. Next, we have another visitor from out of town. I'm so excited to hear him. This is my first. Did you read it? You read it at the other one. Yeah. So a fairly new reader, but so glad to have you here tonight. Please join me in welcoming. This will be the last time I don't pronounce his name correctly. Please join me in welcoming Rudy. Next time I'm going to get your name right.
I'm very nervous. It's my first time, guys. I'm from Waterloo. This is a poem. This is a poem named Fight. I don't know why I wrote it. It's just felt like the thing. Is fight another form of love? But it hurts if it all we are made of. Words are like fire, the glance is cold. Our hearts are young, but we are growing old. We clash like storm beneath the sky, not knowing when or even why. Yet after silence, after tears, we stay together despite the fears. Is this what love is meant to be? A war we wage, yet never flee. Maybe love wears different name, in anger, longing, hope, and flames. But if every hug must start with pain, is love the sun or just the rain? Thank you.
It's hard to get up the first few times, but we all had that too. We all got up the first few times and had to. Thank you so much for reading. And now I forget who's next. Hang on. It is absolutely a pleasure to introduce our next storyteller, I guess. He runs a storytelling event sometimes here, and the next one is going to be on, he will probably tell you. But please join me in welcoming another person who's becoming a friend that I'm really delighted to know, Mike Durbecker.
The next event, by the way, is going to be on the first Friday of September, and I have no idea what that date is on short notice. I have a trigger alert. I'm going to talk about a suicide. So if this upsets anybody, feel free to leave or feel free to tell me not to do it. Triggers are unreasonable by nature. They are going to climb up and hit you sometime when you do not possibly expect it. The one that hit me the hardest was probably in 2007. And before that, I think, was 1992. And both of them stem from something that I don't need to get into details about. A classmate of mine killed herself in high school, and it was incredibly upsetting to me. You don't need to know the details. There were 10 or 15 people I was very close with. She was one of them. It sticks in my head because the day I found out and I saw people being upset, I knew it was her. I said to somebody, "Is it Zoe?" And they told me immediately what it was. That feeling of complete remove and panic, I can't get rid of. And the response at the time, and this is in the 1980s, was well-intended, but essentially it came down to try not to think about it. And I do understand that. I don't begrudge that to anybody, but the shock and the effect stuck for a long time. And I had one nightmare, just one, but it was a doozy. I was in an airport, and it was a nonsense dream, and it was very cold. And I took a hallway, and I took a corner, and I saw Zoe, and she said, "Does this hurt, Michael?" And I said, "Why?" And it wasn't, "Why did you do it?" It's like, "Why are you asking me? Why are you in my dream? Why is this happening?" And at the time, there was a horrible noise in the dream. It was a very low note that got rid of all other noises, and there was this horrible type of purple cloud that was not cinematic, that was not drawn or painted. It was nothing. And I don't know why it was that color, but it was terrifying, and I woke up in sweats. This happened a long, long time ago. Triggers are weird. Did I mention that earlier? Here's the next one. I was in university as a film student, and I was broke, which is not unusual. I had a friend who managed a building in Guelph. His name was Travis, and every so often I could scratch up exactly enough money to take a Greyhound from Toronto to Guelph, and I would buy a pizza at one of those 2-for-1 places, so technically I'm buying 2 pizzas. And between the two of us, we would have pizza, enough money to buy a 2-for, and we would watch movies all weekend and talk about them. This particular weekend, I had a particular treat because I had a coupon, 50% off. So that gives me 4 pizzas for the price of 2, right? This is a good thing. Got to Guelph, walked to the place I always go to, and discovered that there was a fairly long lineup at around 2 in the afternoon on a Friday, which was unusual. When I got to the front, I found out that they were actually selling 50% off across the board because it was the 10-year anniversary of the store. So I went in and said, "I can still use the coupon, right?" And the owner said, "Well, you're already getting 4 for the price of 1. I said, "Yeah, but you don't say I can't use the coupon." So after a little back and forth, I walked out with 8 pizzas. Party size, fully loaded. Staggered to my friend's place, kicked on the door. He opened the door and said, "Hungry?" Walked in, we ate half of one of these enormous pizzas, drank some beer, and he said, "It's too bad there's no resale value for pizza in the world." But we thought about that because this was around October, and there was a very, very sleazy, very crowded club at the time called the Chooch, and there was always a lineup on a Saturday night. And my inspiration was, let's heat the pizza up in the oven, let's cut it into slices. We walk up and down the aisle, and we keep saying, "Hey, $2? You cold? $2 a slice, $2 a slice. Everybody's got a toonie, right?" And this is exactly what we did. We cleared around $345. Did I mention the murderer? This is the first time in my life I met a murderer. Triggers are weird again. Did I mention that? When I arrived in Guelph, before we actually got the pizzas before we started selling the pizzas, I managed to meet one of his tenants. He was a very weak kind of looking guy. He's maybe about this tall, balding, 60, 65 years old. He went up to Travis and said, "Do you have an extra cigarette?" And Travis, being an idiot, said, "Anything for a fellow veteran." Gave him the cigarette. The guy walked away. Travis looked at me and said, "That guy's a murderer." I said, "Yeah." And he said, No, seriously, that guy is a murderer. He is here on parole. He was an accountant. He had some particularly bad clients. And one day, believing that they were going to kill him, these guys came to his office. He had bought a gun and he shot both of them. And then called the police and said, "I've shot these guys." So it was revealed that perhaps he was not of sound mind and body. It went down to manslaughter. And while he was in jail for 5 or 6 years, he tried to kill himself twice. And now he is doing his parole, monitored, in Travis's building. This is what we found before we went to sell the pizza for $348. And by the time we were heading back with this ill-gotten gain, we were in a great mood. I'm saying, I want to buy a really, really cheap car. Yeah, I want to buy a new wardrobe. I want to buy an audience with a pope. We're bouncing off the walls. We feel amazing. We got a bottle of whiskey. We get back to his apartment building. There are cops everywhere. And the police explain that the little short accountant guy, whose name was Marshall, by the way, did not report for his parole hearing. So he is now a fugitive, technically. And they don't think he's a threat to public life, but he is a threat to himself. So they were waiting for Travis to get back. Travis has all the keys. The police cannot kick down the door. He has to use the key to the door. And I hear this, and I think, this is a suicide. I know what this feels like. That's crazy. I'm the first to admit that's crazy, but every response I had to Zoe came back in relief, and it was bright, and it was feasible, and I could feel every second of it. That weird purple cold glow and that horrible dark noise suddenly was everywhere. And while I'm thinking this is insane, I'm also thinking, which apartment? What is it? The fourth floor? Fourth floor. I'll go up there. Maybe he's got the door open. Travis goes for the keys. The cops follow him. I go to the fourth floor, and I don't want to look too carefully at the stairs because I'm going to see that weird purple glow again. And every time I hit the stairs, I'm hearing that noise, and I'm thinking, this is crazy, this is crazy. This has nothing to do with me. That had nothing to do with me. Zoe had nothing to do with me. None of this has anything to do with me except for this response, and I have to get to the door. And I know what it's going to feel like if the door is locked and if he's already gone. And that doesn't make sense to me, but I know it, and I get to the door, and it's locked, and I'm kind of knocking, going, hey, the police are here. They're not going to hurt you. They just want to, are you in there? Please don't hurt yourself. And I know what it feels like when it is over and you can't get away from the death. But I'm wrong. Because around a minute later, I hear coughing, and the door opens. And this short accountant says, "Yeah, I knew they were coming." And he walks to his couch. Travis is still trying to find the key. I walk to the couch with this guy, and I stand there. And finally, I sit down. And we sit there for a minute, and the police finally come in with Travis, and they look at him, and they say, "Marshall, what are you doing? What happened this time?" And they pull out a pack of cigarettes. They give him a smoke. The cops have a smoke. Travis has a smoke. I didn't smoke. Watching all this, and the blood is raining out of me. I've just gone through hysteria, and I can't explain it. And I'm watching the cops essentially saying, you can't keep doing this. Hey, where are your hands? Come on, put your hands out. You know we got to do it. And Marshall puts his hands out, and they put the cuffs on. They give Travis back the key. They thank him. They thank me. They walk downstairs, and I walk in the hallway, and the purple isn't there, and the noise isn't there, and I must look awful because Travis says, "Are you okay?" And I just say, I cannot possibly explain what's in my head right now. He's a decent guy. He takes me downstairs. We finish the bottle of whiskey. We regret it deeply the next morning. And none of this has anything to do with Zoe in 1985 or an accountant I'd never met before that evening. But it leaps because triggers for the last time come out of weird times. 2007, I'm in a theater at TIFF, Toronto Film Festival. I'm watching No Country for Old Men. Tommy Lee Jones playing a Texas sheriff, and he wants to quit. And he can't bring himself to quit because he feels that the forces of evil will take over the world if he does. And his brother looks at him and says, it's always been this way. It's not all waiting on you. That's vanity. And that stuck with me, the idea that thinking you can make a difference to anybody, especially in the case of a suicide. Maybe it's just that chaos breeds chaos and it comes back at strange times. And maybe that's the fact that from time to time, out of nowhere, I will have nightmares, and they're not nearly as bad as the airport, but I will wake up in my bed and I will see in a corner of the room this very quiet, very dark, very ominous purple. It's not moving at me, it's not dragging me in. It is just there, it's present, it doesn't go. The best advice I can give to anybody in the same situation is what they told us in 1985. And try not to think about it. Thank you very much for your time.
What I mean, this is why I don't have firm end times, because I wanted to hear the end of that story really badly. Thank you so much, Mike. That was an amazing story. Yeah, another round of applause for Mike. I have so many reactions and so many thoughts, and I'm going to give you the most trivial. I'm doing the vagina monologues in Theatre Ancaster this year, this September, and one of the sketches in it is everyone's talking about different names for vaginas. I'm just thinking Cooch is probably. Sorry, what was the place called? The Chooch. I gotta think that Chooch has got to be a great euphemism.
That did come up even in the 90s.
I'm sure it must have. Like, how could it not? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again for that story. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. I think he's going to speak. Please join me in welcoming another person who's becoming a friend. I want you all to be my friends. Okay, I'm just greedy that way. Please join me in welcoming George.
You don't know what's happening. See how fun it is when you don't know what's happening and you can just play along and laugh. I want to share with you, as I should, of course, I'm very wisdomous. I want to share with you the most important lesson I've learned in my life. And now probably, sir, especially you, you're looking at me wondering, what does this motherfucker has to? I'm not teaching anybody, I'm just sharing something that popped in my head, and let's share it. So, I don't care. That's the general title of my life. I don't care. I don't care enough to get pissed. I don't care enough to get offended. I don't care enough to be upset. I just don't care. I read a book that was interesting years ago by a fellow called Mark Fuckface, whatever. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Have you read it? Yeah. I have mixed emotions towards that book. One, because that book anchors everything in your attention is like a very expensive currency. Make sure you know how you spend it. So don't give it. I didn't care enough. Literally, I didn't read the rest of it. I'm like, this is bullshit. And here's why. Because I believe, and I live by it, the subtle art of not giving a fuck is literally by not giving a fuck. Now you might say, that's a very simplistic way of looking at things. But no, it's because I know where I anchor everything I believe in, everything I feel, and everything I think of. It has nothing to do with anybody outside of my head. Everything is anchored within me. Like, you could make fun of my belief system. It doesn't faze me. I'll actually join you for a laugh. Because The act of having an idea or a belief system and sticking to it is literally offensive by everybody else's account. Like if let's say I'm a Christian, of course my belief is going to be offensive to Muslims and vice versa. If I'm a liberal, of course my political views are going to be offensive for a conservative and vice versa. But because I anchor these emotions or these feelings or these thoughts or these beliefs within me, when within me alone, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You could sit there and ridicule everything I stand for. I would still be like, cool joke. Do you have any better ones? Like, these are kind of fucked up. Like, they're not funny. Like, can you? Because I believe firmly that offense is taken, never given. And that's a very controversial thing to say. I understand that. But the more you anchor stuff within you, the more you hone your ability to just go, well, I believe in this, knowing that there's somebody else that believes the opposite and that might offend. The more you're aware of that, the more you stop giving a fuck. Like somebody can come and say, oh, dude, you're like, I like what Mike said about triggers. By the way, I'm Arab. Triggers mean a whole different thing for us. It's literally a trigger, you know, like, so if I hit a trigger, I'm running, you know, like, and that helped me, by the way, like, it's a good segue, but like, that helped me in a sense because I grew up in Lebanon where explosions were just a daily occurrence. Like, did the 4 o'clock explosion happen or not yet, you know? So when you live like that, there is no room for, oh, that guy made fun of my hair. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, I was about to fucking explode like 2 minutes ago. What the fuck are you talking about? And that's why, right now, what pisses me off the most, and that's my evil part, thinking out loud, right? That's where I become very evil. When parents go, oh, we should stop bullying. I'm like, you piece of shit. No, like, fucking train your vanilla kid to be strong. You know what I mean? Like, train them to be strong. I was bullied, but I would never look back and like, I was bullied in school. And I'm not saying that's not hard. When it's happening, it's fucked up. Fuck bullies. Fuck bullying. But I don't give a fuck. Simply put, you could bully me. I'm not wearing shoes, for crying out loud. I don't give a fuck. That's how much I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever the fuck I want, and I'll bear the consequences, because that's a very important issue as well. It's because if you want to live by your words, live by your beliefs, you should be strong enough not only to take criticism, but to pay the price. And I've paid prices for my opinions. I've been shut off by people who were in my life just because I told them their kid is ugly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Their kid is ugly. I'm not saying we should dump him in a dumpster, you know, like, and I understand that's fine. Like, see, now you're hearing me, but I don't give a fuck what you think, you know, because that's genuinely the thought that crossed my brain. If I saw a kid and he's ugly, I'm like, oh, that's an ugly kid, you know, like, but I'll say it, but I'll bear the consequences. I'll even say later, oh, that was an asshole move out of me, but I'm fine with that because, again, everything is anchored inside of me. I don't need validation. I don't need anything more from anybody other than the thoughts I had. And when I'm conversing with somebody, whether it be Jen, Jake, Dex, whoever, Ayman, so he doesn't get upset. So I give a fuck. I give a fuck. If I'm conversing with people, it's because I'm seeking something they know that I don't. I'm not talking to Ayman, trying to convince him of my point of view. I just want to hear what he has to say, because he's offering me something like I probably didn't think of. So when you do that, you live life beautifully. Like I live I have an amazing wife. She's very supportive, but she knows that I don't give a fuck. That's simply put. And here's the thing. I still get angry sometimes. I still get triggered. But just like Hitler, I'm wrangling these thoughts in the corner of my head, and I'm trying very hard to gas them. And if you're offended, I don't give a fuck. That was George Tarabai. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd say give another round of applause for George, but he doesn't give a fuck. That was great. Thank you so I'm aiming for that. I'm hoping that that will become me at some point, that I will not give a fuck. I love that. Please join me in welcoming our next reader. I don't know anything about him, which makes me really excited and happy. His name is Tomo. Please join me in welcoming him.
So here's the thing. I think this is my first time telling jokes in front of an audience that's not like expecting to hear a joke. Because usually my audience is like, you know, a comedic audience, like, you know, comedy shows, comedy open mic. So it's interesting, right? Let's see how this goes, eh? Okay. So once again, good evening. My name is Tomohiro. It is a Japanese name, which is perfect because I even look Japanese. Now, despite being Japanese, I've never dated a single Japanese woman in my life. Only a married one. Well, she was married to me, actually, too. So that was what else I got here? Yeah, so on my way here, I saw a sign on the street that said, chicken strips for $3.99, right? And I thought to myself, wow, that's a good deal. But I'd rather go to a normal strip club. Right, so far so good. All right. Now, speaking of food, I enjoy going out for sushi, right? So the other day, I found a great new place near the CN Tower. The portions were huge. Everything was fresh, and I was happy. But the people inside the aquarium were pissed. I am not allowed back there. So people say to me sometimes, like, Tomo, you take things too literally, right? And I think that's true sometimes. Like, so for example, I was driving down the road and I saw a sign. It said, stop for pedestrians, right? No, watch for pedestrians. But there were no pedestrians around at the time, so I sat there for hours. Here's the thing, I had a rough week actually. I lost my job as a lifeguard at a pool, right? But it wasn't my fault, you see, because I was about to jump in to save that kid, you know, the drowning kid. But they had signs everywhere that said, please shower before entering the pool. At least my feet were clean, right, when I went in. Yeah. So I grew up with like very strict Japanese parents, right? And my childhood was tough, but you know what? Like, I still remember fondly, like, the times when my father and I went, like, hunting together, right? As I was dodging the bullets, I thought, my father's not that bad, yeah. So now, as an adult, like, I try to be a good father, right? And the thing is, like, my son always complains to me because, like, when I go shopping, like, I buy, like, so much shampoo for the house. But he's like, Dad, like, you always forget the conditioner, right? And I'm like, son, well, you see, that's because I love you unconditionally. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Poor aquarium. That was great. Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing your cheering section, too. That was awesome. Our next performer is Eamon. All right. Please join me in welcoming Eamon. Okay, why do I think there's a story here?
Please ignore what the shirt says. I am not part of a cult. Not part of a cult. Go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. I'll get through to everyone else. Now, George and I are friends from a very long time, but we haven't spoken in a very long time, ever since my son was born. So, now, if you're here for his bit, you get that. Since this is Writer's Night, let's read some things. Now, I always fancy saying that I belong to different arts, and ever since the Center for Talking Arts opened up, I was the first one lined up outside. So we're going to go on a journey together, because I have not written anything recent, except jokes. But I will read some stuff that I wrote a long time ago. Now, I have vague recollections of the gist of those stories, so we're going to discover some stuff together. First one is a blog. Yes, I'm that old. I was around when blogging first started, when it was cool, and I think I got in on the ground floor. I'd written a series of posts that I called My Life in Exchange for Yours, where I basically tell the story of my professional career. Here we go. My Life in Exchange for Yours, Sunday, July 10th, 2011. I wish to become a writer, and this is my first attempt at penning a self-help autobiographical few chapters that are intended, in essence, to help people believe in the fact that destiny does indeed exist in this world today. What better way to do so than to give examples from my past experiences that are testament to that very fact? When I sat down to write, I was surprised to have covered 9 full pages initially. Knowing that this is a considerable amount to read at once, I'll break it down into smaller portions to be read at leisure. So, without further ado, allow me to take you on a journey into the past, and thank you in advance for your time. All comments and criticisms are appreciated. Back then, not now. Just listen. Chapter 1, The First Job. On December 10th, 2006, I re-entered Kuwait with a dream in my mind and a song in my heart. Back to the country where I had spent the majority of my young adult life, this time without the guise of requesting knowledge. I had returned on a visitor's visa to find a job. I did not know where to begin. I sent countless CVs to dozens of companies, went over all the ads in all the newspapers, but to no avail. The main prerequisite for finding employment in Kuwait was a transferable residency, which I did not have. Fate, as it often does, decided to take pity on me, and with her oh so beautiful face, flash me a brilliant smile. My search concluded a mere 11 days later, having interviewed and gotten accepted to work as an accountant. Not the accountant from Mike's story. For a local company with a myriad of operations that involved retail, engineering, agriculture, and manufacturing. A friend of a friend knew that a manager at her company was looking for an English-speaking accountant. Submitted my resume, and I got a call to come in for an interview. Little did I realize, however, that I was heading down the wrong path. A path of depression and self-doubt. At the time, life seemed good. The manager that had interviewed me did not discuss a salary, as he said he would judge my potential within the 3 months period and then give me a figure. I was not paid a red fils. That's the currency in Kuwait, fils and KD. Strongest currency in the world, by the way. He gave me a line that I became equipped to hearing in all interviews I sat for. You have potential. I can mold you into something. So I foolishly decided to leave my career in the hands of this seemingly pleasant stranger. Initially, I had also applied to join a very big bank in Kuwait. Of course, getting into the big bank, NBK, required a few known associates. Let's call it as it is, wasta, which is basically the Arabic word for nepotism. And I remember stapling that wasta business card to the front of my application as I sent it in. They called back for an interview. I took part. I got offered another job. I believe it would have been in a call center. I discussed this with Tyrant, whom I had been working with for almost a week. His initial response was shock. He took that as a flaw in my character, already seeking other employment in spite of his taking me in. I weighed the options beforehand. The bank was offering a call center job, erratic hours, a yet unknown salary, a friendly atmosphere of peers, and the chance to work for a bank. Whilst here, I was being offered an accountancy role close to my field of study. I was a business administration major, and the potential to be molded into a manager at some point in time. I declined the offer with the bank, deciding to stick to my current promise. Destiny and fate intertwined, as this was but the first branching of career path. I am sure that in some alternate universe, I had indeed chosen to accept the bank's offer. And how that life turned out, I can only guess. Working at that company, I got to slowly dip my feet in the work pool and garnish a modest understanding of accounts. I was nothing more than a glorified data entry analyst, and my seeming savior turned to be no more than a demented demon, a tyrant, as he shall be referred to henceforth. I just realized a mistake. I called him tyrant earlier. See? 14 years later, I can correct myself. The place I was working was considered the head office for multiple operations of this company. So everyone was either an accountant, a secretary, or a manager. It did not take me long to be introduced to the majority of the workplace and to find out that I was the youngest one there. My friendly demeanor made many open up to me, and they turned my attention to the fact that no Arab national had ever lasted long with tyrants. I heeded their warning. However, I had seen nothing yet to verify their claims. Tyrant had a filthy work ethic. His department was made up of 4 accountants at the time, and I had joined them as a junior. I quickly discovered that internet access was prohibited. So I took to searching the office network for documents to quell my hunger for reading things on screen. There, I discovered the word biodata, which means CV, which seemingly is a biological term of metrics, turned out to be nothing more than a fancy word for curriculum vitae. The working hours were Saturday to Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and a half day on Thursday from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. This was before a 2-day weekend was declared for all, should I say, the majority of companies. Tyrant, however, had other plans. Tyrant demanded overtime, which is not a bad thing on the surface, as we were getting paid for the time we remained in office, even if it was to just twiddle our thumbs. The gist of it was we were not allowed to think of leaving until 6 p.m. You needed permission to leave on time. Imagine that. Later, I came to realize that this was a tactic to dispel the possibility of his accountants seeking interviews with other companies. In all honesty, for the first 3 months of my employment, I had no ill will from Tyrant. I was beginning to wonder if people were wrong about him. Despite seeing his hard, rough, crude demeanor with others, he had been relatively easy with me. His vile side was that he would literally wipe the floor with his accountants, with a thunderous, bellowing voice in front of everyone. There is an Arabic saying which goes along the lines of, if you wish to criticize me, do it in private. If you wish to praise me, do it in public. Thank you. With him, it was the opposite. I put in the overtime, tried as much as I could to learn something useful, and passed the time by reviewing more biodatas. Time, as it has a habit of doing, passed, and the 3 months visit visa came to an end. I was then to travel back to Egypt and process the documents for my permanent visa. The first nail in the coffin of my career as an accountant with that company came with a declaration of my salary. It was below what I expected, contrary to his wording of molding me into something. I shrugged it off, considered it to be me paying my dues, doing my time in the trenches. Hitler's trenches. I did, however, voice my indignation to tyrants. After 3 months of grueling work with countless hours of overtime, I was finally on my way back home. A rest of around 20 days as I ran across country to finish my paperwork, got x-rayed, poked by needles, spilled blood and sweat to finish in due time, all the while calling tyrant by phone to update him on my status. My paperwork was done, and surprisingly, coincidentally, fate once again intervened to plot this auspicious occasion as the day of my return coincided with 3 joyous occasions: my birthday, my younger brother's birthday, and his graduation, all on the same day, in 2007, April 21st. Yes, April 21st, I was back in Kuwait with residency process papers in hand, ready to celebrate both my birthday, my young brother's birthday, as I mentioned before. Then came the change at the workplace that set a series of events that would prove the most beneficial to me. That was the first piece. Do I have your permission to... Pretty much all right? Well, I will. And yeah, like I said, I do write stand-up comedy. Thank you.
It is fun to leave things on us on a note like that. Please join me in welcoming our next reader. I don't know anything about her, but I'm really excited to hear her. Please welcome Amy. Amy? Amy? Amy! Can you guys get to come all the time? Can you guys just keep coming back? I love this. I love this.
I'm short.
But how much shorter than me, though?
I don't know. Probably much shorter than you. I'm going to sit. Okay. I was going to read a longer story, but I think I decided somewhere in there that I'm going to read a shorter story. You're welcome. This is my first night here. My first time ever reading. I've written many, many stories and had them published, and many poems. I just don't tend to read them. So, this is a piece of flash fiction, and it's called Old Jim. You're such a pretty girl. You have a boyfriend? No, 12-year-olds don't have boyfriends. He told me his name was Jim, and he was working on the big ship that had been docked for 2 days. I'm not sure how old he was, but let's just say he was dad age. His right forearm had a large, faded, greenish tattoo, and his hair was streaked with gray. You ever been fishing? Jim asked. No. You want to? No. Come on now, where's your sense of fun? Fun? That didn't sound like fun to me. Fishing was for tired old guys. I'll let you drive the little boat, he said. And that was all the bait the old man needed. I looked over at Curly, the marina manager, and he gave me a nod and said, he's all right. I quickly learned that fishing really meant listening to Jim babble on about his life and all the goddamn mistakes he'd made. I hated fishing. I think we ought to head back. I have some chores to do before my mom gets home from work and kills me. Sure, kiddo. On our way back to the mainland, Jim told me about his daughter. Carrie would have been about your age. Such a colicky baby. Lois was so depressed. I was always away at sea. I thought she'd snap out of it. Thought they both would. I looked up at Jim's weary eyes. His face dripped sweat. Maybe we could stay out a little longer, I said.
That was great. That's Flash is such a thing to write, like to actually get the encapsulation of the whole story in that tiny amount of space. That was really amazing. Thank you. I hope you come back. I hope, yeah. Everyone, yeah. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming our last reader for the evening, Edith. Yeah. Edith! Woo! Edith! You gonna stand or sit, or what do you feel like?
I'll just talk because I haven't prepared anything and nothing. So everything which comes out of me, it will be from the bottom of my heart. So enjoy. Hi, my name is Edith. I like the Japanese guy. I don't look like one, Edith. It's a very old English name, but I'm an Indian, okay? Ciao, you're an Indian? Oh, great. It boosted my confidence to see you. And you look very handsome. Your girlfriend? Oh, that's lovely. You're Indian too? Oh, sometimes Indian doesn't look Indian sometimes. Okay, coming to the point. I can't see anybody because of the light, which is good. I have some stage fear, and because of these lights, I'm a little bit more confident in talking to you. So, having fun, guys? I hope I will not make you, okay? So, my name is Edith Glenn. I came to Canada 3 years back from Vancouver. I went to Windsor. I felt a little boring. I came to Hamilton. Hamilton is like, okay. No comments right now. I'm going through the scenario. I'm a nurse, by the way. Yeah. You can have a, yeah! Being a nurse is a big deal. So I'm a registered nurse, okay? So being a nurse, I have been in a roller coaster of situations where I have to tragically end certain things, and also I have a lot of things which had a lot of job satisfaction, like saying thank you to me. By a wonderful old lady's 96, thank you, that smile, that is job satisfaction for me. So having these things ahead, we have things like we don't eat on time, and we don't take our breaks properly, we have responsibilities. So, of course, what happens when you don't eat on time? We get? Yeah, bloated! And we just hold that thing and go to a place where there is a dementia patient or something like that and just relax. Something happened? I don't think so. Like, we'll say that nothing happened, and we just relax and go out, and we'll feel good. So this is what happens. We get bloated, and it comes like poo, 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 poo. It happens, okay? So try to understand that. And when it comes to my job, I took a lot of hardship to be in this position. A lot of crying, a lot of study, like 10 hours, 12 hours. How old do I look? How old do I look? I'm not groomed properly. See, no nails done. How old do I look? Any comments on that? 23. Oh my God. No, I'm 35. I have a 9-year-old son, a lovely little son. Apparently, they don't want to listen to so I come here. I'm actually feeling good. I was like frustrated from home, and I just gave me a walk. I thought I'll go to the church. Oh God, please give me some patience, please. What is happening to me? Why I'm getting so frustrated? Why my head is so hot? Apparently, I was just walking, and I felt like the angel guardian is guiding to me, saying that, oh, come on, there is somebody talking. You can just lash it out. So I am here, apparently, as the last person. No, more, yeah. So that's it, because I haven't prepared anything. I hope my IELTS teacher was here listening to my conversations and my monologues so that they can judge me and give me good scores. Apparently, he is not here, he or she. Anyway, so I had great time. I spoke out from my heart. There was no preparation or anything as of sort. I spoke well, I think so. My English, right? Oh, yeah. So I'm very happy. I'm a very energetic person. The thing is, my job has a lot of aspects where I have to be patient, I have to self-control and everything. But this platform had made me like back where I am 10 years back, I think. I'm going to come, and you have to tolerate me again a lot, okay? Bye.
I think that's a perfect way to end the evening. Thank you, Edith. Another hand for Edith. And another big hand for everybody who came up tonight. Thank you so much. This is a really, really wonderful night. There's so much variety. If you would like, some of the authors who are here do have books over at the side. Come and take a look, see if you want to buy something, and support the artists, because we make the big bucks. You know that, and the only way we make the big bucks is when you come and support. I know we make the big bucks. The next one of these is, I'm not exactly sure when, because next month I'm going to be, as I said, doing the vagina monologues, which apparently is going to conflict with almost everything else I want to do in my life. But please come here. Thursdays are the open mic for comedy. Mike's got something coming up in storytelling. First Friday of the month. All storytellers welcome. All storytellers welcome. Yeah. Yeah. Edith. Thank you, everybody, so much. So just to remind you, there's T-shirts for sale. And if you want to get a copy of your performance on 5 cameras, beautifully cut together, just have to talk to these guys here. It's $10, and you can have that for your social media. Thank you so much, everybody, and have an amazing, amazing night. Yeah. Woo!